Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I'm doing one of my authors video. I have done a lot of these on several different authors. I've done one on Leah Moriarty, Taylor Jenkins Reid, Frederick Bachman, Christina Lauren. Like, I have a lot. So what these videos entail is I usually talk about every single book the author has published, and then I rank them and what I've read of my least favorite working up to my favorite and letting you know what they're all about. This one's gonna be a little bit different because today we're talking about Tessa Bailey, and if you know anything about Tessa Bailey, she's written a lot of books and I have not read nearly all of them, but I have read 17 of them, and I was like, it definitely counts for an author video, so I'm going to talk about the 17 books I read. So like I said, she has written a lot of different books. Like, there has been many series. I believe she first started writing in 2013. Her first ever series she did was the Line of Duty series. I've not read that. In fact, I'll put up all of the books of hers that I have not read. A lot of them, such as the Line of Duty series, such as the Serve series, such as the Crossing the Line series, Broken Beautiful series, and the Made in Jersey series. So she's got a lot of books under her belt. And if you don't know who Tessa Bailey is, she is a romance author. She writes predominantly kind of steamier romances. I didn't discover her probably until maybe like 2019 or so, so it's been a while. But either way, she's a very popular romance author, and honestly, I really enjoyed the majority of her books. So like I said, it's kind of not the best video because I haven't read all of her books, but I've read 17 of them. I've read enough to know, you know, which ones are my favorite, which ones are not. So yeah, in case you're interested in any of these books I'm gonna talk about today, as always, like I said, I'm gonna start with like my least favorite Tessa Bailey book, working up to my favorite, because believe you me, I have some favorites. I also have some ones that I do not like as well, because that's how it goes with any author. You don't always like every single book they publish, and that is more than okay, you know, that's how it goes. So coming in at my least favorite at number 17 is one that is almost a novella, which, by the way, I'm not putting novellas in this. She does have a fair few where it's like 2.5 or a novella and things like that. I figured she already has 17 I've read. I don't want to include novellas in this because we would be here forever, and we're already going to be here a while. So hope you can forgive me on that matter. I'll link her Goodreads page down below so you can see every single novella, and she's, you know, contributed short stories, different books. These are just going to be her like full-length novels that I'm talking about today. The first one is kind of almost a novella. It's over 200 pages, so I was like, it's not really quite that yet, and that is the Sweetest Fix. So honestly, for a lot of these, I had to go look up the Goodreads and figure out like what was it about, because I forgot. And this one, I really truly had no sort of premonition of what it was about. But I do remember it's about this character named Reese who has these dreams of being on Broadway, and she gets a Broadway audition, but then she gets a Broadway audition and then she misses it, and she tries to sweet talk like the audition person, but she's not having it. And then she learns that the person has a grandson, and that guy's name is Leo, and he has his own bakery in the city. And she's like, you know what? Maybe if I sweet talk him, you know, things, wink, 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 he could maybe get me another audition. And you can clearly tell where this is gonna go, where all kind of romances do. This one just fell flat for me. I didn't really enjoy it. There wasn't a lot of chemistry. There wasn't a lot of plot. It just wasn't one of my favorites. It's, you know, one of my least favorite. I guess it is my least favorite Tessa Bailey book. And we have one of her newest releases that just came out in February. That is Secretly Yours. I had such high hopes for this, and it would let me down a lot. I think because I didn't enjoy the chemistry between the main characters. This one follows Hallie, who is this gardener, and she's a little bit of a wild card. You never know what she's gonna do. She's always running late. She never really plans out her garden. She just plants them. She's always harbored this crush on this guy named Julian for forever, and he, like, his family owns this vineyard, and he comes back in town, and somehow she starts leaving him notes, and things start happening. And like I said, the big downfall for this one for me was just there was really no chemistry between Hallie and Julian. I like them as characters, but together they just, I don't know, they just didn't work for me, so I didn't love it. So next up we have Hook, Line, and Sinker. This is the sequel to her very popular book, It Happened One Summer, and in fact we follow the main character's sister in that book, Hannah. And Hannah is a very big music person. She really likes things, and she kind of befriends the love interest in What Happened One Summer's friend named Fox. And they kind of, like, you can clearly see they're into each other, but they never really do anything about it. And I was anticipating this book because I really do love It Happened One Summer. It'll be really further down this list because I enjoyed it. But this one, again, the chemistry between the two main characters didn't just work. It took forever for them. And I felt like the reasons why there weren't things happening were kind of not the best. And I just feel really let down by this because, again, I enjoy both of these characters so much, but together it wasn't it for me, if that makes any sense. Hopefully. Then we have a random standalone that I read not too long ago, and that is Unfixable. This one is about a character named Willa who she gets like this opportunity to travel to Ireland to do like this photo competition thing, and she stays in this really, really small kind of Irish pub, and there she meets a guy named Shane whose family kind of owns this pub. There's a lot of tumultuous things with his family and things. They kind of don't hit it off. It's kind of a hate to love romance, but there wasn't anything super amazing. Like if I had to tell you to read this one standalone that's not part of a series of Tessa Bailey, I don't know if I would gravitate you towards this one, like recommend it. It was okay, it just wasn't amazing for me. Today, Tomorrow, and Always. This is the last book in the Reborn series, which is a series of hers that I do not hear get talked about a lot because it's different from her usual books. She usually writes just straight up romance, like steamy times. This one's a paranormal romance, and I do really enjoy this series. The last one, however, I did not like. In this book, we follow a character named Tucker who has to kind of like deliver this girl named Mary, like she's like a fairy thing. It's just paranormal, okay? You get it, you get it. Again, wasn't feeling the chemistry between the main characters. It's a really big deal for me, I guess. I didn't really like, again, both the characters are amazing on their own, but together, I just didn't love it. I kind of wanted something else from it, and it wasn't there, which is sad because I do really love this series a lot. And again, it doesn't get the hype that I think it deserves. It's a great paranormal steamy romance if you want them, but this one wasn't it for me. Then we have another kind of different type of book for her, and that is My Killer Vacation. This one came out last summer, and it's kind of like a summer thriller with steamy times involved. We have a character named Taylor who is a teacher, and she decides to go on a vacation with her younger brother to like Cape Cod or something like that. They go rent to this house, and what do you know, she opens the laundry room door and there's a dead body. No. So she's like, you know what, I'm tired of playing it safe. I'm gonna solve this murder. Enters in Miles, who is a bounty hunter kind of guy, if you will, and he gets involved, and she's like, you know, we're gonna team up, we're gonna solve this murder together, and he's like, no. And you can clearly tell it's like a hate to love. It was okay. Like, the thrilling aspect was necessary in this book, not a ton, because it was very unrealistic. But if you just want a summer thriller with like not a lot of stakes, not taken too seriously, with a lot of steam, I would check it out. Next up, we have Love Her or Lose Her. And this one is a part of her Fix Her Up series, which is the first ever series I was introduced to, like my introduction to Tessa Bailey. So this one follows characters Rosie and Dominic. They are married in the beginning of the book. They're in a very tumultuous part of their marriage, like it's heading to divorce, and they decide to go to marriage counseling, and the whole book is about their kind of journey with marriage counseling and kind of seeing if they can rekindle their relationship. Dominic served, I believe it was overseas, and it's just been very rocky for them. I did like this really honest look into a marriage and how they both really wanted to fight for it, but they both really had to make some really intense changes. It's very different from her first book in the series, but I did enjoy it. Runaway Girl. This is a two-part series. This is the second book in it. The first one is Getaway Girl. This one, okay, so I have to tell you a little bit about Getaway Girl. So in the beginning of Getaway Girl, there is a wedding that's about to happen. It's between, I forget his name, and Naomi, and Naomi's the bride, and she decides, you know what, I am not getting married, and she like she freaking gets out of there. She gets in her car and she drives, because it takes place in South Carolina, she drives all the way to Florida in her wedding dress, and somehow in the span of that, she finds this opportunity to coach this girl named Birdie for a pageant. She's like, that's perfect for me. And so she does just that. And there she meets Birdie's older brother, Jason, who is very gruff, and Naomi's very Southern charm because she's from Charleston. And I didn't love it nearly as much as the first book, but the scene in this was intense, and I did like the chemistry between the two main characters. I should also note that the novella book after this one follows Birdie. It's a very, very short one with her in college. I also really enjoyed that one. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about novellas, but I really like that one. And we have a Christmas one, and I believe she has another Christmas one coming out this year as well. This one is Window Shopping. This is about a character named Stella who just got out of jail for something, and she somehow gets a job to kind of be the window dresser at, like, I think of kind of like Macy's in New York. You know, when you look at the window, you see the beautiful mannequins. It makes you want to buy things like that. It's her job to do that for the store named Vivant. And the one who hires her is this guy named Aiden. His family kind of owns the store. There's apparently a lot of, there's a lot of chemistry there, but he is like her boss. They can't be together, but it's very cute. Like, Aiden is like, a lot of people have compared him, which I would agree to. He's like a Ted Lasso character, and I would agree with that. Like, he's just very Southern and very sophisticated and very like funny in a Southern kind of way, and just also very gentlemanly like Ted Lasso. I really like this. It's a great Christmas one. I would recommend it. Then we have The Beach Kingdom, and this is, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about novellas, but hear me out. This is 3 novellas comprised into one book. So The Beach Kingdom is the title of all of them together. There's 3 different novellas in it. My favorite, hands down, is the first one, Mouth to Mouth. Like, that one, I reread that a lot, honestly, because it's a novella and it's super easy to read. I love it. It's Rory and Olive. He's a bad boy. She's a good girl. I eat that junk up like candy. I loved it. Beach Kingdom's great. Like I said, I believe it's like Mouth to Mouth, Heat Stroke, and I forget the last one's name. But either way, if you're looking for a really super fast summertime read by Tessa Bailey, which a lot of these are, The Beach Kingdom is great. And we have her newest release that's coming out next month, and it's the sequel to Secretly Yours. It's Unfortunately Yours. So in this book, we have a character named Natalie, who is the sister of the main character in Secretly Yours, Julian. So Natalie, at the beginning of this book, she is trying to get back to New York to get back to her stockbroker job. She doesn't have any money, and she really needs the money from her trust fund, but somehow her dad has in her trust fund that she can only get it if she's been married and stuff like that. So her and this guy named August, who is a fellow winemaker in this town, they really do not like each other. He also needs the money for his wine company, and they decide, hey, let's get married and let's collect this money. But of course, feelings grow, you know, hot and wild and all those many things. I really enjoyed it, much more so than Secretly Yours. I felt the chemistry was so much better between these two characters. Maybe I'm just a hate to love person. I don't know, but their banter was there. I really enjoyed it. It was a great time. I would definitely read this book, even if you did not like her first one in the series, Secretly Yours. I really like this one, especially, you know, you got the hate to love, you got the fake marriage thing going on. It was great. And we have This Time Tomorrow, which is the sequel to Reborn Yesterday, part of that paranormal series I was telling you about. This one is the classic trope of the vampire falls in love with the slayer, if you will. I am all for that. Buffy, hello, yes, Buffy, Angel, I eat that stuff up. Weirdly enough, it's not my favorite in the series though, but I still really enjoyed it. So Elias is a vampire, and he is very much in love with Roscana. Hopefully I said that right. She is a slayer. She hates vampires. She's been trying her whole life to kill vampires, and somehow she just can't kill him. And the scene in this one, like, but it was really good. Really enjoyed it. Next up, we have Tools of Engagement. This is the 3rd and final book, and I believe it's called the Hot and Hammered series, not the Fixer Up series, so please forgive me on that. This is about Wes and Bethany. Bethany is the sister of the main character in the first book, Georgie. You can sense a trend. A lot of romance series do this with good reason. It's kind of easier to keep on board. But anyway, Bethany has always been known in her family company. They have like this renovation company where they are like a house flipping company. She's always been the one to decorate, like come at the end to, you know, just furnish the place, get people to buy it. And she's kind of tired of that. She wants to do her own flip from start to finish. And so her and her brother get into this competition. She manages to get this guy Wes on her team, who's kind of a new guy. And, even in the beginning of the series when they first meet, you can clearly tell there's sparks flying. It's a hate to love romance. Kind of an age gap. She's a little bit older than him. He's also a caretaker for his really young niece. He's like her guardian. But either way, again, Steam was great. Loved the chemistry. Was a big fan. Then we have, I guess this is my top 5. That was my top 5. So number 4, is actually the first book in the series, Fix Her Up. So this one follows a character named Georgie, and she is a clown, a literal clown. She's a birthday clown, and she loves it. And she runs into her brother's best friend who is back in town named, what's his name? Travis, and he was actually a hotshot baseball player, and they got injured, so he has to move back home, and he starts working for you know, their family's company of flipping things, and he wants to get this job to be a baseball commentator, but they don't really love his lifestyle. He's kind of a loose cannon. He dates a lot of girls. They're like, you know, we kind of want to keep it somewhat family friendly. So him and Georgie decide to fake date, but clearly Georgie has had a crush on him since she was like really, really young, and I don't know. The steam in this was amazing. The one thing I do not like about this book is that he calls her baby girl, and he says it constantly. Like by the end of this book, I was like, if I don't ever hear the words baby girl again, I will be happy. But either way, again, this was my first ever Tessa Bailey book I ever read, and I was like one of my earlier steamy ones, and this is the first ever transition of steamy books kind of getting that illustrated cover where it's not like when you look at it overly steamy, if you will, because we all know there's some romance books that kind of just like when you look at them, you're like, whoa, you're reading some spicy steamy books, okay? But then they kind of took a turn with the covers with kind of having really bright colors and illustrated people on the cover. And I really like it, honestly. It draws me in. It made me want to read it and buy it. And I did. And I enjoyed it. It was my first ever foray into Tessa Bailey. And I'm glad I read it. So number 3 is Getaway Girl. So this is the first book in that series I was telling you guys about. So this book, we have Addison and Elijah. So remember in that, I told you that Naomi was the bride. She left, and we follow the jilted groom in this one, Elijah. He is in Charleston. He's actually becoming the mayor of Charleston. So he's like, crap, I was left at the altar. So he's leaving the church, and he's like trying not to get flagged down by his family or media. And who should be in this car is Addison, who is actually Naomi's cousin. And she's like, you know what? I see what's going on. I haven't been back in town for a while, but I will help you like escape from people. And they become friends and ... more. And whew, I love it. It was a great one. It's kind of like a bad girl with like a very southern good guy because he's going to be the mayor. So he's got to be like picture perfect. But man, it was really, really good. And number 2 is It Happened One Summer. This one came out a couple years ago, and it's a lot of people's favorite Tessa Bailey book, which I get. It's coming in my number 2 slot. I really did enjoy it. This one is about a character named Piper who is very much inspired by Alexis from Schitt's Creek. You know, she's kind of uppity. She's kind of a spoiled brat, rich girl that gets like everything she wants. I'm just trying to do like Alexis voice, but I didn't get it, but you know. And so to teach her a lesson, her stepdad's like, you know what, forget you. You're going to go to Washington State and you're going to run this dive bar that your father owned, and you're going to redo it because you know what, you need to work for things. And so she goes to this really small fisher's town. She meets a guy named Brendan who is kind of this captain. They do not like each other at first, but things happen, and whew, steam galore in this book. The chemistry there, the steam there. I really, really enjoyed it. Like, definitely, obviously, one of my favorites. And of course, my favorite Tessa Bailey book that I talk about all the time, Reborn Yesterday. This is an underrated one that like nobody ever talks about, but it has my heart, and it had my heart the day I figured it out. Like, I didn't even know it was coming out, and then I learned it was a paranormal romance about a vampire, and I was like, bye, like, need this to my house right now. Because you guys know, like, everyone's got their tropes that they love. Mine is vampires. I love vampires. And honestly, there hasn't been a lot of like really good steamy romance vampire books that I've read. I have read some that a lot of people have recommended that are very popular, but I didn't love them. This one, I loved. It follows a character named Ginny, and she owns a funeral home. Her father's passed away. She's kind of in charge of it. So one night she is embalming a dead body, and then the dead body wakes up, and it's Jonas, and she's like, what the hell? And he's like, you know, my friends played a prank on me, and then turns out, you know, she learns that Jonas is a vampire, but you know, they cannot be together, things like that. This series is very big on mates. It's a very hot button like word, I think, in a lot of fantasy books. Sarah J Maas kind of did it, but goodness me, did I love it. I love Jonas. Like, he is a very, very sweet man. So good. Like, if you want a good vampire series, I'd highly recommend checking out the series. This one's my favorite in the whole series and my favorite Tessa Bailey book by far. The steam was great. The chemistry was great. I ate this up. So yeah, 17 books that I talked about. That's a lot. That's a lot of books I've read by an author, but Tessa Bailey writes a lot. She writes usually 2 to 3 books a year, which I'm not mad about at all. Like I said, I have not read nearly all of her books. I do plan to one day, but every time I think about reading one of her backlists, a new one comes out of hers and I'm like, I should read that one instead. But either way, they're great. I really enjoy her books. Mostly just kind of fun, popcorn, steamy books that I really enjoy. Like, she's a great kind of palate cleanser, if you will. Like, if I've read a heavy book, a Tessa Bailey book would be the great one to read next because they're just fun, steamy ones. So I do really enjoy her books. And yeah, I would love to know if you've read a lot of her books, which ones are your favorites, which one are your least favorites. Did I sway you to any of them? You know, please let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.